Maalim was the former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly and, of course, has a host of experience, more than 25 years of experience in the political scene in the country. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Farah.
Thank you.
And maybe, just to get a comment from you, on the Daily Nation, we've had a couple of pages talking about the X-Files, the Moi era X-Files, and I don't know if you've gotten an opportunity to read some of those, how Moi's bid to secure his presidency kicked off an era of detention and torture. And over the past 1 week during the funeral service, the mass, everyone has talked about, of course, what we can't ignore is the positive aspect of the leadership that was within the, was fronted by President Moi back then. But of course, we could not turn a blind eye to what happened as well, right?
Well, those were pretty much difficult years, very difficult in the sense that there were excesses, some serious excesses.
Right.
I just noticed one of those who have been detained and then released without being trialed. Justice Muhammad Ibrahim of the Supreme Court was one of them, and he's I don't see his name there, but that's just one name that was left out.
Right.
Those were difficult times, undoubtedly.
But and these names mean a lot to the country's history as well.
Yes, they mean a lot to the country's history. And there were a lot of. To begin with, we had this constitutional amendment which Parliament passed after the failed attempted coup of 1982, which was to make Kenya a de facto or de jure a single party. That, in effect, eliminated the space for political space, for democratic space was eliminated completely. You either had to belong to that single party, or you had no chance or opportunity of contesting for any elected position, because you had to be a member of a party. And the only party that was there was KANU. So if KANU shuts you out, then you have no any other, what they call, option. So there was attempted coup. There was the subsequent de jure single party state, and then there was, of course, the desire by many Kenyans to both seek that space and agitate for the formation of or the registering of new parties through mass action. And then there was also a lot of clandestine movements that were effectively Kenya, Mwa Kenya, and the rest of them that had intended to overthrow the country through some whatever, unorthodox means. Now, all said and done, when you look at what happened those days, the desire by Kenyans to emancipate themselves and free themselves, the sense of entitlement in some quarters, entitlement in the sense that some people felt that they had a natural right to rule in this country, to being the leaders of this country. And anybody else like him was basically said he's a passing cloud. You see what I mean? And so when you put all that together, many bad things happened. Many people lost their lives. Many got detained.
And this definitely changed the course of the politics that we're actually seeing right now. Do you think this influenced?
It influenced the politics we're seeing right now. It influenced in the sense that what we have right now is basically as a result of those efforts and the cost that many people bore. Many people died. Many people went into detentions. Many people left the country and ran away to other places. I personally, one time, because of such things, had to run out and stay out of the country for about a month because there was a fear that I was going to be arrested and put in these detentions. So when all is said and done, we were still way better than any other African country, any other third world country that was involved, because in other places, you totally disappear. Totally disappear. I mean, the number of people who have never been accounted for completely were too few. In my case, I can only probably think of 1 or 2 cases throughout this period of time. The people who were just picked out of their houses, their bodies either turned up somewhere or were never seen again. Now that happened in Ethiopia in a big way. It happened in Somalia in a big way. Uganda lost about 500,000 people. Tanzania was also a single party. You literally could not talk of any other party except CCM. Initially it was TANU, and then later on it was CCM. And Congo, which is the DRC Congo, was equally, literally, in such a bad shape. When you go to the south, we're still fighting the decolonization of the south. You know, South Africa was not free. Zimbabwe took a long time to be free itself, although by the time we came to power, I think within a year of that, we already had a freedom in Zimbabwe. But then, high on the heels of that freedom itself, was the famous massacre of the Ndebeles in the region, in the Bulawayo region, where the late President Mugabe ended up killing, about 30,000 people. Now, we're in a country where we can only talk of 1 or 2 people who mysteriously disappeared at that time. You could say we were way better than that. I mean, Moi, immediately coming out of the coup attempt, ordinarily, in any African setting, would probably have killed 10,000 people, 20,000 people. You know what I mean? Get rid of all the opposition that's there.
All right.
But that's not the way it happened in our case. So in a sense, we still can give ourselves a lot of credit. One, for maintaining the flames of emancipation by these people who paid a lot of costs. Two, for having a regime under Moi that essentially was not as brutal as any other regime was. Just before him, nobody knows where Kungu Karumba is now. You know Kungu Karumba? Right. Kungu was a detainee with Moi, with Kenyatta. Nobody knows how J.M. Kariuki disappeared and how he was killed. The state machinery basically did that. And many others, of course, completely disappeared during Kenyatta's time. But during Moi's time, you can, the only person that I could say with firmness is Robert Oko. Robert Oko was a bad case, was a seriously bad case.
And this completely tainted, of course, the image of President Moi back then internationally as well, and globally, and that completely hurt his image.
Look at immediately high on the heels of Moi's departure from the center. Moi's departure from the center, when he left the center, and Kibaki came in. Over 600, between 600 and 2,000 young Mongiki boys were killed. And nobody knows how they ended up. You know what I mean? They were just literally extrajudicially executed left, right, and center. That's Kibaki's time. Look at now in Kenyatta's time. Not less than 700 young Muslims or old, whatever, just disappeared without any trace. These are called the enforced disappearances, where people just disappeared.
All right.
And presumed many of them, their bodies stand up other places.
Right.
So when you compare, including the contemporary ones that we are going through as we talk now, and you compare that to the Moi era, with all its imperfections, it was still much more human than anything we've seen and anything we are experiencing today when we go